We're
Like a
live.
gig. It's like a gig in a parking lot. That's good.
It's like TV when they go.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Emilio Castillo, band leader for Tower Power. This is David Garibaldi, drummer
What's
for
up,
Tower
people?
Power.
How's everybody?
We thought we were coming here and being interviewed, but apparently we're going to interview each other or something like that.
It's like having a conversation on the bus.
Yeah, right. Except for edited.
Yeah, exactly. I'll behave. I won't use any weird terminology.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So, what's up, boss? What are you doing?
Well, let me just ask you something.
Uh-oh.
How'd you feel about going back on the road?
Oh man. It's really interesting, man. So for people that don't know what we did to get ready, we had 3 days of rehearsal in Los Angeles. 3 days of rehearsal. And so the first day was a little rough. Second day was better. Third day was even better. So we kind of like the dust was coming off. We did the Hollywood Bowl. Then we did a little group of 6 gigs out on the East Coast. And was it by the third gig or so, we're sitting in the dressing room and we're going, man, this feels like we never we never stopped. I mean, it came back so quickly. And it was, I think, because part of it was so good to be together. That was, to me, was a really healing thing. If we never would have played a note, we just would have hung out for a week. That would have been really fun, you know. But we get to play music that we love doing. We get to be around people that we love to be around and get paid to do it. I mean, it was pretty cool. What'd you think?
Well, my take on the rehearsal was a little different. I expected it to be rougher the first day.
Oh,
And so I left the first day's rehearsal. I was like, wow, man, that was not so bad.
yeah. And okay, when I say rough, it's like figurative language. I wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was better the second day, but
Yeah.
it was much better than I thought it was going to be on that first day. And then the second day, it was like, we just fell in the slot, and I really dug that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I noticed that I was talking to Dennis Chambers about this. He called me the other day when we were doing a long drive. He
Yeah.
called me. We talked for a long time,
Yeah.
and I was telling him I noticed that my road chops are like like I forget certain ways I packed and certain things I did when I got to the room, and he was telling me, he says, yeah, he goes, I just did a trip to Chicago. He goes, I was there 3 days. He goes, I packed enough for 3 months. He goes, I got there,
Yeah.
looked at my suitcase and said, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But just not only packing, but getting ready to go on stage and the stamina that it takes to do the show.
Yeah.
And I could tell that it's going to tweak upwards as we go. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think too, that the as we keep adding songs, like, we did our entry level set, that's kind of get the atmosphere going, right? And now this next run of gigs, we're adding songs. So we'll kind of like, kind of get back to the way that we had been doing it, where we would have 2 or 3 sets that we would do that were a little bit different, that had each set had a different kind of vibe and a different challenge to it, at least rhythm section stuff anyway. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Also, what a pleasure having Ray Green.
Oh, you
Man.
know, he's like a really interesting guy, man, because, you know, as we all know, the lead singer disease is a real thing. You
I
know,
thought you were going to do that.
it's a real thing. We know that. And so the thing about Ray that I just love, and I think that what makes him loved amongst all of us, is that he's just like one of us. He's like a musician, because trombone is his first instrument. Vocal thing was something that he did in college to make money, that kind of stuff. He discovered, so he used those two skills together. And so he thinks like an instrumentalist. He brings his horn with him. He practices, so he thinks like an instrumentalist. So you always get the feeling that he's together with us. You know, I love that.
Yeah, and just I told him, to his face, I said, "Man, I dig the way you sing, I really do, but it's you that I really
Oh, yeah,
cherish
absolutely.
as a
Yeah,
person." He's a
yes,
really high quality person. Man, that's such a pleasure.
yeah. Our conversations, I tell dude, come back, get your butt back here. You know.
That would be nice. We'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. So for those people that don't really know what's happening in that regard, Ray's with us into December, and then he has to go back to his day job, Carlos, the Santana band, right? And we are going to possibly audition people.
Unless he turns around and says, "I've decided to stay here."
Yes, I've quitting my day job, and I'm going to go with you brothers. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be great. And
Yeah.
it's a possibility.
Yes, it is a strong possibility. So, and in the meantime, we just enjoy it, man, because he's bringing it. And
It sure is.
The thing that's interesting too is our show as we do the songs, they sort of have an evolution. Even the whole set has an evolution, kind of like how things happen between songs, and when we do the introductions, the little vibe that goes on and all that stuff. We had a lot of kind of things worked out before, and it's kind of now falling in, sort of going sort of that way, but there's going to be other things. So the songs evolve. The emotion, like when we do the ballads, I really dig that, because to me the ballads are a real showcase for the band's musicianship, more so than any of the other stuff, because there's dynamics and there's emotion in all the songs, and that kind of stuff. So all the kind of music that we like to play, that we're influenced by, was in those ballads. That's what makes them, I think, have so much power when we play them, is because of the depth of where everybody's coming from. So with Ray and the singer, that kind of, the emotion that they develop communicating the song, that sort of evolves over time, and it really turns into something very cool. So those songs become like cool performance pieces. Each one's different.
Yeah, the thing about ballads also is that nobody does them anymore.
Correct.
People think a ballad is, this straightforward kind of medium tempo love song. That's not a ballad. A ballad is, slow, 12/8, wring your emotions out like a rag. That's a ballad.
That's old school stuff. Yes, absolutely. That's the real deal. I agree.
And then we got different ballads. I mean, they're really different, willing to learn, serious emotion, surely as I stand here, musicality off the chain, arrangement off the chain. Time will tell. Who does a waltz anymore? Nobody.
Yeah.
And make it soulful.
Yes.
So yeah, I like playing those songs because I feel like I'm out there going, yeah, you won't see other bands doing this. Not too many anyway.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of like playing those kind of songs. It's kind of, there's an art to it, and so in a way, lost art, because it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of people doing that kind of thing. Those 12/8 slow 12/8 ballads, But to me, there's so much that you can do with those, like even just rhythmically, all the subtleties and cymbal swells and just dynamic changes and all these things. I just love that stuff, because I grew up with that in that environment, where you play dynamically, so it's kind of cool. Actually, it's more than kind of cool, it's real cool.
Well, talk about that for a minute, Dave. That was one of the things they wanted us to touch on. Is you said you grew up listening to that kind of thing. So, what were you listening to when you were young and just starting to really play? Not when you were learning, but when you actually started. Like when what was the band you were in with Les Morris?
Oh, the Disciples.
The Disciples. From the time of just before the Disciples onward. What was What were you tuning into?
Well, seeing as how we're old dudes, and I hate to use the O word because we're not using the O word anymore in our vocabulary. Um, at that time, when we were learning, jazz education was the way really that you develop as a player. That's kind of your entry into non-orchestral sort of playing, was kind of playing jazz. And so it was kind of in the beginning of when young guys were starting to play rock and all that. And so I came up in the big band tradition, playing Count Basie music and, Glenn Miller and all that kind of stuff. And then orchestral music with, concert band, which I loved playing concert band. It was so much fun playing orchestral snare drum. And so when I was in the military, we had an excellent concert band. And it was, I think, 50 guys or something. And it was, during the height of the Vietnam War. So everybody's in. So we had a lot of really fantastic players, great wind players, great percussion section. And so, all of those things, I loved doing all that. Marching band, I loved it. We had a cool marching band. So we had the small group thing, jazz influenced. We had the orchestral thing, marching band. So all those things were kind of in me. I got out of the military, and to me, that prepared me for being in Tower Power. All of that stuff that I had done, because I loved big band music. Count Basie was one of my favorites. Sonny Payne, I saw him with Count Basie. Jake Hanna with Woody Herman, all of that. And so that kind of music really influenced me a lot. But then I saw James Brown, which completely jacked up my brain. And so my approach to our music is a combination of the thing of like James Brown, but then also big band music, the way that I play with the ensembles and, that sort of thing. That comes from all the big band, learning how to play big band. And Latin music, I love Latin music. So all these different kind of musics somehow find their way into what makes Tower of Power. It's, beyond, yes, our basic thing is like we're a soul band. That was kind of our initial inspiration, of course, but we've got so much other influences that make Tower music what it is. I think that's what's so cool. It's like a work in progress. It's like a thing that we're still building. The story is still being written. Everybody that comes in to the band, that stays, brings their influence to the music, their style. Now that we have Mark, Mark, is a fabulous bass player, and he's filling Rocco's, place, in his way. Nobody replaces Rocco. Let's get that straight. You don't do that, right? Mark pays respect to that chair, in the most respectful way possible. He plays the Tower music the way it's supposed to be played, but he has Latin influences. He played a lot of jazz, and so he's has those things that he brings to it. Same with all the guys. Harry Kim, now that Harry's doing it, Harry has all that. He played with Harry James. I mean, God, man, that's fantastic. I mean, and plus all of his studio work and all his time with Phil Collins and all that. So they bring all this stuff. When Sal was there, his influence with Poncho Sanchez and his ability to play with a percussion section, with drums, was awesome, So that's my take on things. It's we're a mix of so many different things that makes Tower music what it is.
Yeah, I remember being a kid, my dad taking me to see Louis Armstrong, and when he had Hello Dolly out, I think I was 14 or 15. They did so many encores, and they kept on bringing him back. And then the last thing he did was Hello Dolly, man. The place went berserk. And I remember Dave Brubeck opened with Paul Desmond, and I went to
saw
see
that? So that was Joe Morello playing drums then.
Yeah, Joe Morello. Yeah,
you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah, and my brother was our drummer at the time. He was a big fan of Joe Morello, so that was a huge deal.
Of course, who wasn't?
And then we went and saw Ray Charles at Stanford Frost Amphitheater, with the big orchestra. Man, it was killer. And he would take me. He's the one that turned me on to Roger Collins, you know, and Sly and the Family Stone. It was because of my dad. So I had all those memorable first sightings of these incredible bands and players, and
Yeah, man.
I mean, he
I
even
think
took
that's why the way that you run the band is like you have all of these influences that you kind of allow to exist, within the band. We have a format. We have a way that we do stuff. Tower, any new people comes in, it's Tower 101, right? Until they really get it, right? And some people, it's not good, but you allow us all to bring what we have to the concept of Tower Power. What makes Tower Power what it is, to me, is because you don't dictate how we do it. You just want to be real good. And so that's the only requirement is that we bring it, which makes it really, really awesome.
I was thinking about before we came on here, just the name of this particular thing that we're doing is alternative jazz venues, and they sent us some questions, and they were saying, how has jazz influenced you, and who were some of your? And I started to think about, I'm not a jazz person. I don't sit around and listen to jazz, and yet I love having jazz in our music, And I'm one of these people. I like to steal. Somebody does something that's really cool. I grab it and I use it 9 different ways over the next few years. And like, so when Chester Thompson came in,
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember we were doing funkifies, right? And we had that part of there, and it was just a 5 chord, and then it became a 5 with an augmented, a 5 with a raised 5 in it, And then when Chester came in, he's like, well, we could go to this. And he said, a half step above the root and raise the 5 and flat the 9. And he plays it for me. I'm like, yeah, no, let's do that, and then later in the tune, let's do a different one here. We can come from under, And I remember I've used that so many times, and just different elements of jazz, especially chords and voicings and accents. I love having that in our music, and to me, that makes us. It gives our music integrity, and it's not like I got to be Mr. Jazz Lover to appreciate. No, that sounds good, man.
No, you're like the ringmaster, You kind of like have all these things going on that are Tower of Power, all these different elements that are creating what the music is. And that's awesome, man. That's why I stay. I don't go. I don't want to go anyplace, is because I can do what I like to do here as much as I want to do it. I can create anything I want. I can play any way I want and shape it into Tower music. It's so
Well,
fun.
that's the fun of it, though.
Yes.
It's like, yeah. So we got this. This is what I'd like to see happen. What do you guys think? And then we all go, well, we can do this, we can do that. How about this? And you come back the next day. I was thinking about it. We could,
Yeah.
And it's like that's the fun. It's like going through that process is just like so interesting.
Serious side always sticks out to me in that, because when you came in and you sang, you says, okay, I got this thing I want to do. And then you sang dum 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 bump bump. You sang that to us. Everybody's eyeballs kind of cross, and then we just went for it, and kind of created that slippery, cool little thing that we do, with Serious Side.
I don't know if you remember, that came to me on a bus. Remember, we used to take those bus trips. We would all meet at the Keystone Berkeley, and we'd have a chartered bus.
Yes.
And the band would get on, and all its friends.
So the chicks, we had everybody. We had the girls. We had the whole 9 yards. It was.
We drove to Sacramento or Modesto or all these different places.
Fun, yeah.
Partying, play the gig, get on the bus, party all the way back. And I remember it came into my mind, skid it, dooba dooba doo bum, dooba 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 doo bum. bump, bump, skid it. And I was going up and down the aisle. I was laughing. I was going, check this out. And I'm singing it. And, next time we rehearse, it's like, we got to do something with this,
Yeah.
And so we hooked it up and we started playing it and it was cool. But then you came in like the next day or the day after. And you said, I think you came in the next day and you had altered the beat. But then you went home another day and you said, now I got this beat. I'm like, well, we did this yesterday. What about the one yesterday? You're like, no, check this out. I'm like, okay, and it just keeps on morphing like that, And
I think I was living over there on 55th Avenue, and I had that little house that I had rented over on 55th Avenue by neighborhood, right next to Bob Frost's place. And that was like a lot of beats came out of that little apartment there. Harvey Hughes came over one time.
Harvey Hughes,
yeah. And we were working on Man from the Past, that beat at the end of Man from the Past. And we would kind of like tag team playing the drums, and one guy sitting there and you say, try putting this here, and then the other guy sits down, and then, going back and forth like that. So that house still, if it's still there, it's got a bunch of beats in the walls in there somewhere,
And then you remember the house that Doc and I had on Hayes Street.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of publicity photos from the front of that house. Yeah. I go there almost every time I go to Oakland, and I stand. And now it's like condemned or something. It's got a cyclone fence around it, but the house looks the same, really. And but I think to myself, how many songs we wrote there? We wrote You Strike My Main Nerve, and Below Us All the City Lights, and What Is Hip, and Down to the Nightclub. I mean, we wrote a ton of songs at that house, man.
It was writing all the time.
Yeah.
It was writing all the time. And that was kind of the vibe, was creating the music.
And that's where we first started hanging out with Lenny Williams. Because we were living there, me and Doc. We got a call in the middle of the night from Larry Graham, and he said, would you guys come up and put some horns on these tracks I got? I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
So he's living up there by the zoo on Caledon or whatever it was. Yeah,
Nolan Park. Yeah, right by Nolan Park. Yeah. And we went up there, and they were doing all those songs that wound up being the Graham Central Station first record. But what it was at the time was Lenny Williams' solo album.
Yeah.
And he had written all those songs with Larry Graham. And but I remember I'm listening. I'm like, this is dripping with soul, man. And this guy he's singing. He's so soulful. The songs are so soulful, And then I go in the kitchen, and the guy comes in. He goes, Mimi. And I'm thinking, how does he know me by my nickname? He goes, you don't remember me, huh? I go, no. And turned out he had come to George's Palace, this after-hours joint in Fremont that we used to play at and rehearse at. He came out with this woman singer named Maxine. And she told me at the time, you need to hear this guy sing. But at the time, we wanted a girl. And so, I told her, yeah, we're looking for a girl. But I remember he sang, and we were like, wow, but we wanted a girl, Loading Zone had a girl, Cold Blood had a girl. That was our thinking at the time. So anyway, we're in the kitchen at Larry Graham's house, and he goes, you don't remember I came out to Fremont. I met you in Fremont a couple of years ago. He goes, you probably don't recognize me with this Sly Stone wig on. And he goes like this. He pulls off this wig. And he goes, yeah, I came out with Maxine. I go, oh, yeah, I remember you, man. He goes, yeah, Lenny Williams, man. I go, wow, man, you sound great. And that's when we started hanging out. And then he started coming over the house. We wrote Both Sorry Over Nothing, Main Nerve.
Yeah.
We went on the road and wrote Man from the Past on the road. Special times, man.
It was, man. I remember we did, I think one of our first gigs with CT and Lenny together was Winterland, wasn't it? Was one of the first ones we did with those guys? Was Winterland?
Yeah, we played with Curtis Mayfield when he had
the Barcades.
Yeah, and we worked up You Want Somebody Else.
Yes.
This is tune.
Yes.
And
the only time we ever played it.
Right, and we were all disappointed because he paid no attention
He
to
paid
us.
no attention to us whatsoever. We were so excited to do the song, and I have a tape of it somewhere. That's really, really good too. Because we were rehearsing over
Well,
there.
yeah, I know that tape you got.
Yeah, in
Yeah,
Berkeley at our rehearsal hall, San Pablo and Chaucer over there.
yeah,
There's some beats in that place. There's some beats left in that place.
yeah. A lot of beats left in that place.
Oh man. So when Lenny Pickett came around, he used to well, he was playing with Lynx, right? That's
Yeah,
when he was playing with Lynx, that band Lynx. David Bartlett was in it, and John Knight was playing bass, right?
yeah.
Ricky Kellogg and hippie guys, Berkeley hippie guys. Didn't Lenny used to come over and practice outside our hotel or our hotel, our rehearsal place there?
Yeah, used to drive Skip nuts because he'd be out there by those bushes right outside the
Yeah, yeah,
door,
yeah,
and he just doing scales and practicing overtones, and and he was so great.
yeah, yeah.
It was really unnerving for Skip. I remember, and Skip really liked him a lot.
Yeah.
But then he'd be in there and he'd hear him outside.
Oh no, he was something, man. He
Yeah.
was
I
really
remember
something.
the day that we decided to hire Lenny Pickett, I called him up and I go, Lenny, it's Mimi, and he goes, oh hey, I go, we want to know if you want to come in the band, and he goes, oh my God, he goes, I just got asked to join Cold Blood, and I don't want to be in Cold Blood. He goes, God, I feel like my ship came in. I go, look, Lenny, I go, all I need you to do is come up to my house. I was living in the Berkeley Hills then. Just come up, and you guys were there. I said, yeah, I just need you to play a little bit with the rhythm section. That's going to sew it up. And we brought him up. We were actually in the room that was Doc's bedroom. There was a practice kit and a guitar and a
Yeah,
bass.
yeah.
And then he came in and we did that groove to Back on the Streets Again. Boom, boom, goon, 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 goon. And man, he took it to the moon, man. And everybody just said, yeah, no, this is going to work.
No, he's like, was it like 18 or something at the time? Was he 18 years old?
I think he was 17.
He was like, teenager basically.
Yeah.
But his two favorite saxophone players were Sonny Rollins and Junior Walker. And so you can tell in the way he plays, those two things in his playing, you can hear that stuff in there. And if you want Lenny Pickett to the max, listen to Knock Yourself Out Live on Live and in Living Color,
Yeah.
Lenny soloing, and Sonny Rollins and Junior Walker showed up, and it was an epic, epic performance. One of the best recorded saxophone solos ever.
He does that circular breathing thing where he's going, but he's breathing through his nose while he plays, and he just goes, oh, yeah. And then I remember when we were recording that album, we also used to do Willing to Learn at the time. And Mick Gillette was another one that could do that circular breathing really good.
Yeah.
We would play a note and it would go on forever. And so we would do, I think it was Main Nerve or some song, and it was Main Nerve. And we would and Lenny and Mick would hold the note forever and not take a breath until people just went nuts. And then we go, Chester put that really cool jazz chord, and it went down, and all of a sudden it was like Willing to Learn. Oh, it was awesome.
One other thing I forgot to mention about CT is when he came in the band, that was our transition from being just an R&B style band to being like more of having a jazz vibe in the band, and we could play anything. We could do anything then. For some reason, that really opened everything up.
That's true, but we should also give credit to Greg Adams too, because before Chester got in, Greg started to arrange, and we would sort of put the restraints on him. No, there's no raised 9 chords in soul music. No, there's no. We were restricting him. But when Chester came in, and that stuff started happening, then it was kind of like unleashing Greg to be able to do that in the horns, and pretty soon it was
Yeah.
like went through the whole body of the band. It was great.
Yeah.
Greg, those arrangements Greg did, man.
Yeah. So when you listen to me, like just when we start making it. So I was taking lessons with Chuck Brown in Oakland, and he was teaching me kind of, we were working on basic like jazz concept and stuff, really how to play it right. And so we would do that in rehearsals. And you can tell when we get to I was trying to combine the 12/8 sort of vibe, but with a jazz kind of a thing in it, you know? And if you can hear that on the out section of just when we start making it, we get to the organ solo, which was a tape splice, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
that at the end of that drum roll, going into the downbeat of the organ solo, the most well-crafted, perfect tape splice in the history of recorded music.
Yeah, and that's because of you, because we had two good takes.
Yeah.
But one take was better on the front side, and one
Yes.
take was better on the back side. And you go, you know,
Uh-oh.
if we could, and Alan Chanowski and Tom Fly were engineering.
Yeah.
If we could, and those guys go, we can. Get out the razor blade and cut that tape, put the two tapes together. And I remember when they put the tape on it and they re-rolled the tape and then they ran it, and it went into the organ solo. We all went, it worked.
Ah, yeah.
All right, Dave, you know what? We're past time. We got to say goodbye, but great.
You're the best, brother.
Thinking about this life and what a life we have.
It's pretty nice.
So thanks to everybody out there, and
Yeah.
thank
Thanks
you.
for tuning in.
Thanks for sharing my life with me. All right, guys. We'll